Let's talk about India's climate. Because really, it's a fascinating puzzle. How can one country have scorching deserts, lush tropical islands, and the highest, most snow-covered mountains on the entire planet? It's an incredible range of contrasts. I mean, really think about that. Freezing, deep winters in the Himalayas, and at the very same time, people are enjoying the sun on a tropical beach in the Andaman Islands. So how is that even possible? How can a single nation hold pretty much every climate you can think of? Well, that's the question we're going to unpack. And spoiler alert, it's not magic. It's actually a really beautiful and complex dance between some powerful geographical forces. So, how do we solve this puzzle? It turns out there are 5 master keys. We're going to go through them one by one. First up is latitude, then altitude, proximity to the sea, winds, and the big one, topography. By the time we're done, you'll see exactly how all these keys fit together to create the incredible climate tapestry of India. Okay, so for our first stop, let's kind of zoom out and get a bird's eye view. We need to look at India's position on the globe. And, its height. It's time to unlock our first 2 keys, latitude and altitude. First up, latitude. All this means is how far a place is from the equator. And the basic rule is really simple. The equator gets the most direct, powerful sunlight. So the closer you get to it, the warmer the climate is generally going to be. And you can see this play out perfectly in India. Way down south, places like Kanyakumari are practically neighbors with the equator, so they stay warm all year round. But if you travel way up north to a higher latitude, somewhere like Srinagar in Kashmir, the sun's rays hit at more of an angle, which makes the climate a whole lot cooler. And boom, that's our first key in action. All right, let's grab our second key, which builds on this, altitude. This one's also pretty straightforward. The higher you go up, the colder it gets. As a rule of thumb, for every 1,000 meters you climb, the temperature drops by about 6.5 degrees Celsius. This is exactly why so many people escape to hill stations like Shimla, Uti, and Darjeeling during the hot summers. They're way up high, so they offer this amazing cool relief from the heat on the plains. And if you take that to the absolute extreme, well, you get the Himalayas, where the peaks are so high it's cold enough for them to be covered in snow year-round. Okay, so we've got our basic positioning down with latitude and altitude. Now, let's dive into the really dynamic stuff. The constant push and pull, that conversation happening between the land, the sea, and the air. And that brings us right to key number 3, how close you are to the sea. See, huge bodies of water, like oceans, they take a really long time to heat up and a really long time to cool down, much slower than land. This means they basically act like a giant natural thermostat for any land nearby, keeping things from getting way too hot or way too cold. And just look at the difference this makes. Coastal cities like Mumbai, Chennai, or Goa, they have what you'd call a mild or maritime climate. The temperature just doesn't have those crazy swings. Now, compare that to a city deep inland, like Nagpur. It gets what's called a continental climate. We're talking blazing hot summers and pretty chilly winters. That's the power of the sea, or in Nagpur's case, the lack of it. All right, key number 4, winds. I want you to think of winds as the atmosphere's massive delivery service. They are always moving, and as they move, they carry heat, cold, and, this is a big one, moisture from one spot to another. They're a huge player in what weather you get day to day and what climate you have long term. In India, where the wind is coming from is everything. If you get winds blowing from the west in the summer, they can carry superheated air from the desert and trigger massive heat waves. In the winter, you get these cold, dry winds sweeping down from the Himalayas, making northern India feel much cooler. And, of course, there's the famous monsoon. That's what happens when winds blow in from the sea, scooping up tons of moisture, and then dumping it over the land as rain. So that's 4 keys down. We have 1 to go. And let me tell you, this last one is a giant. It's the actual shape of the land itself. Our 5th and final key is topography. This is all about the physical features of the country, the mountains, the deserts, the plateaus. And these things aren't just sitting there looking pretty, they are actively shaping the climate. They act like enormous barriers or sometimes open highways for weather systems. The most incredible example of this in India, and maybe anywhere in the world, is the Himalayan mountain range. This massive wall of rock acts like a powerful shield. It physically blocks the freezing, icy winds from Central Asia that would otherwise pour down into India. This is a huge reason why the winters in northern India are not nearly as brutal as they are in other places at the same latitude. But hey, it's not just the Himalayas. Look at the Thar Desert. It's wide open, flat, and totally exposed to hot, dry winds, which is what creates its arid climate. Then, over on the west coast, you have the Western Ghats. This mountain range literally stands in the way of the monsoon winds, forcing all that moist air upwards, which makes it cool down and release an absolute torrent of rain on the coastal side. So you see, the shape of the land basically tells the weather where it can and can't go. So there you have it. All 5 of our keys are out on the table. Now for the fun part, let's put them all together and finally solve this puzzle of India's climate. Now, the most important thing to get here is that none of these keys work by themselves. Latitude, altitude, the sea, winds, and topography, they're all constantly interacting with each other, creating this incredibly diverse and complex climate tapestry you see across the country. Let me give you a few examples so you can see what I mean. The Himalayas, that's topography, block the cold winds. That's 2 keys working together. Mumbai's proximity to the sea gives it a mild climate, completely different from Nagpur's, even though they're at a similar latitude. And Shimla's high altitude makes it cool and pleasant, despite being located in the north. See, it's all connected. So in the end, when we ask why India has such a diverse climate, the real answer is, it doesn't have a climate. It has many. It's this beautiful, intricate mosaic made up of countless smaller, regional stories, all written by the epic forces of geography, air, and sea. Understanding these 5 keys really helps us appreciate the amazing natural systems that run our world, but it also raises a much bigger, more urgent question. These forces have created a delicate balance over thousands of years. So what happens to our weather, our seasons, and our lives when we start disturbing that balance? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.